All right, now we have Dr. Hallie Zwibel, Assistant Professor of Family Medicine and Medical Director of the Academic Healthcare Centers and Director of Sports Medicine for NYIT on their campus at Long Island. Dr. Zwibel.
Oh, thanks so much for having me here, first of all. And let me just say, it's very tough to follow Victoria. I haven't met you before, Victoria, but that was really well said and well spoken. I think you highlighted a lot of important things. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we actually just finished a study where we were looking at female esport players and just people engaged in video games in general. And we surveyed them about their views and some of the things that they were going through. And that, talking about creating a safe space online is really important. We got a lot of really unfortunate and kind of disturbing responses, to be fully honest, about harassment that took place online. And we have some female players that work with us, and that really is important. And we've brought that to the attention of the executives at different companies involved in esports. So I think you're completely on the right spot, hitting the nail on the head with the need to really emphasize and to create that safe space, because women and girls are excellent at esports and they deserve to have that freedom and security when they're playing online. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Hallie Zwibel. I'm the medical director and director of the Center for Sports and Esports Medicine at New York Institute of Technology. And you might ask, well, how does sports and esports and medicine really get interrelated here? What we really want to do is take the model for sports medicine and sports science and apply that for esports, right? If you look at athletes in other traditional sports fields, everything is so scientifically based, between the amount you're practicing, what you're consuming, your diet, your exercise regimens. Everything is studied to the most minute degree so we can get the greatest bang for our buck from each player, right? You want to produce the best possible outcome, whether it's on the field or on the court or in a video game, right? But esports is not there yet. So that's where we come in. We're trying to take that sports science and apply that to esports. And we're lucky enough to work with a collegiate team at the New York Institute of Technology, the NYIT Cybears, who've really allowed us to kind of pick their brains and work collaboratively to find out what are some of the things that affect play in esports, right? And what we're finding more and more is that health and healthy habits and how you actually play the game can make a big impact. But right now, unfortunately, it's still kind of the Wild West. There's not a lot known. There's very little research out there to kind of guide what you should be doing overall to make sure that you are in the best position possible to perform at your highest level when you're gaming. And really, we're trying to take that model and, like I said, apply it to esports so that every single gamer can have that benefit of scientific knowledge to guide how they're practicing so that they become the best player possible, right? There's a difference between playing in college or at the professional level and playing at home with friends, just like any other sport. And often when I talk to gamers and esports athletes, what I try to compare it to is that if you look at a soccer team or a baseball team or a football team, the way that they train is very specific to that sport, but it doesn't only include practice of the game itself, right? So if you're playing soccer, you're not just playing soccer, 10 on 10 for 4 hours a day, every day, and then 8 hours a day the day before. If anything, you do the complete opposite, right? You do a lot of drills, you do a lot of exercise regimens, you strengthen those muscles that you're going to be using, you make sure that you practice the exact movement that you need. And it's not so much that you're doing the scrimmages against each other, you're more building up these skills so when the game comes, you're ready to pull your best performance out there. And what we see in esports is not so much of that model, right? We heard from our players and from players around the country and the world that scrimmaging is the main way that we practice, and that we scrimmage the most right before we're going to participate in a true match, right? So you're scrimmaging the most the day before. If you look at a marathon runner, they do the complete opposite, right? So you train down the couple days before so that you're ready, you have the most energy to perform the day of. So we're not there yet, but we're trying to study and find what are the best ways to have you perform at the highest level in your, given specialty. And like I said, we've had the opportunity to work with the NYIT Cybears to really help collaboratively identify what makes the best esport athlete. And we try to focus on esport athlete centered model, just like for any other traditional athlete. So that includes a few different things. There's athletic success, right? So you want to be gaming at the highest possible level, but there's also academic achievement, right? That's really important for any student athlete, no matter what sport you're playing, right? You're involved in college, and college presents a unique opportunity for self-development and enrichment, and to ultimately wind up in your professional and career goals, whether it's related to esports or whether it's something that's tangential or completely not related at all. So it's really about creating an esport athlete centered approach so that when you go through the college experience, that not only are you functioning at a high level as an athlete, but you're functioning as a high level as a student and an individual, that you have that individual growth. So I want to touch on a few things that we've identified that can really make a big difference in terms of your performance as an esport athlete. And a lot of these are not necessarily something that are unique to esports, but we know that applying these things do produce significant benefits. The first thing I want to mention is sleep, and specifically sleep hygiene. So people might ask, what is sleep hygiene? That's about making your sleep habits optimized so that you get the best amount of sleep, the best quality sleep, and the most amount of sleep that you need. And you could say, well, why is sleep so important, right? We all sleep. I'm fine if I don't sleep so much, I can catch up. But science has shown that sleep can really be important in a few different areas. First is your problem solving and decision making. You make better decisions, and you can make decisions quicker, right? So you have better reaction time and judgment if you have better sleep. So that plays a role in the classroom, but also when you're gaming, you're playing in these multiplayer battle scenarios, right? You want to make the best move. You want to have the quickest reaction time. You want your judgment to be top notch at any given moment. So sleep plays a role, and it plays a big role. We also know that information processing, alertness, and some short-term memory, right? So all these things can impact gaming, in addition to all the other facets of your life. So what can you do to get some high quality sleep? One of the things we know is that limiting light exposure before bed can make a big difference. Believe it or not, although your screens look white, your LED screens or your monitors, and many of you know this already, they're actually on the blue light spectrum. So why is that important? Who cares? It's blue light versus white light, doesn't really matter. Well, there's actually this gland within your brain that secretes a hormone called melatonin. So melatonin is your sleep hormone. And the blue light from your LED screens actually are the exact frequency needed to suppress that hormone. So essentially, when you're watching a monitor, when you're looking at a screen before bed, your brain is producing less and less of that sleep hormone you need that puts you in the mood to go to bed, right? So you can stay up later and later and get less and less sleep. So it's really important that you want to limit that exposure before bedtime, right? So stop gaming an hour before, stop watching TV, other screens an hour before trying to go to bed. Caffeine, nicotine, also not advised before, trying to go to bed. I mean, nicotine in general, not advised, but caffeine, coffee, energy drinks, things like that, they're stimulants. So you don't want something that's stimulating you to stay awake right before you're about to go to sleep. And you want to do something relaxing. You want to put your body in the mood to go to bed, right? So whether it's reading, whether it's showering, something that calms you down so that your body and your mind and everything is in sync, that this is time to go to bed. I need my sleep so I can perform at the highest level. Another thing we know that affects play is eye fatigue. So when you're looking at a computer screen for a long period of time, your vision can get blurry, which I know many of you have experienced, right? You can start to get a little bit of a headache. And this isn't unique to esports, right? This is anyone who's sitting at a screen for a long period of time. But the reason that is because when you're looking at a screen, the image is pixelated, right? So it's little boxes and it's not so clear. And that's, not how humans are meant to view something. So our eyes are working harder and harder over hours to see those images. And eventually that fatigue sets in and your eyes aren't working optimally, right? And you can't perform if your eyes are not working at their highest level. So a few things you can do. First, when you're setting up your gaming station, you want to make it well organized. So there's a few things. One, your monitor should be about 2 feet in front of your face, okay? You want it to have 5 inches below the straight line of sight. So if you drew a straight line coming out of your eyes, that was 2 feet apart. That's how far your monitor should be from your face. And the center of the screen should be about 5 to 6 inches below that straight line. There's some other things you can do. So just how we mentioned before that the eyes can fatigue after looking at a screen for a long period of time, there are some simple things you can do that actually help your eyes rejuvenate and refresh. One of them is called the 20-20-20 rule. So that means that every 20 minutes or so, you look at something, a wall or a painting or a clock, 20 feet away for 20 seconds, okay? And you can do that back and forth about 20 times. So what that does is it allows your eyes to focus, refocus, to relax, to tense, and kind of break that cycle of staring at the screen. Another thing you can do is called palming. So rubbing your hands together, generating a little heat, and placing your hands over both your eyes, and just holding that for about 20 seconds. So that allows your eye muscles to relax. So why is this important? Well, both these exercises are shown to increase your visual reaction time. And I don't need to tell you guys as gamers that makes a big difference. Now, I'm sure many of you watch the professional sports leagues for esports, whether it's NYXL or ESL, and many of you follow these professional athletes. I want to talk about a couple of stories from some of these professional athletes that we've heard about, right? So Jang Hyung, in 2013, he was 24 years old and saying that his shoulders were hurting him so bad that he couldn't even pick up a mouse. Another player, Hallie, he was only pro 6 years and his wrist was hurting him so bad that he retired at the age of 26 years old. So we know from surveying college esports players and professional esports players that wrist, neck, upper back pain are really common. About 30 to 33% of people are reporting this. So making sure that your posture is correct, that your gaming station is organized, that when you do have these symptoms, there's medical care out there for them. There's stretches, there's exercises you can do to strengthen those muscles, to break that cycle of tensing and stretching so that you are able to perform. You don't want a neck or wrist pain to limit you in your ability to perform your task. Another way which we know esports is different is Victoria talked about sitting for a number of hours. And, given COVID, we're all kind of in that boat now. We're at home sitting for a number of hours a day in isolation. But esports players, just because of the nature of the game, you are sitting for a number of hours. And although sitting itself isn't bad, sitting for prolonged periods of time can make a difference in your health. So first of all, taking enough steps daily and exercising. So we recommend about 4 to 5 hours a week of enough exercise where you feel yourself getting sweaty and a little out of breath. So that's a good way to know that you're doing some high quality exercise. If you do that, you're not only improving your mood and reducing your stress, but that also enhances your judgment and decision making. It improves your sleep, which we talked about is important, right, to perform at a high level. And it can boost your immune system, not to mention help prevent different cancers, diabetes, heart problems, things like that. But even if you just enhance your judgment and decision making, gaining that slight edge over your opponent can make a big difference. And we see that from football to soccer to baseball, that it's all about that slight edge that you have, that your team has, that your opponent does not. The last thing I really want to touch on is the mental health aspects of esports. Now, I don't think, and the science doesn't support that video games or people who play esports or, you know, are necessarily someone or a group that needs mental health support. But there is a small proportion of people, and usually it's not those people engaged in organized esports at the college level, who do have some needs, whether it's, they're suffering from additional stress or anxiety or depression, or just feeling socially isolated, which many of us feel right now. And it's important that we recognize these, both in our teammates, in ourselves. If you're a coach, if you're involved in the esports community, recognizing in others. And there's so many things that we can do to help fix these problems, to help correct them. Because the last thing you want is to have something you love and you're passionate about be interfered with. So you don't want the anxiety, you don't want the depression, you don't want, and some people wind up even winding up addicted, just like anything else, to gaming. So it's really important that you're aware that there are things you can do, there's resources out there, and that there are professionals who can help you. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. We athletes in most traditional sports also suffer from this. So it's just about identifying it, not having the stigma attached, and making sure that you take the best care of yourself, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, to perform at the highest level in esports. And we're continuing to focus on that research. And I'd love to invite you guys, if you're ever in New York, to see our esports center, to visit with our esports team. And you guys are going to see them in action later today. So from the NYIT Center for Esports Medicine, I wish you all the best of luck and thanks so much for the invitation. I really enjoyed speaking with each of you.